Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about what's going on in this country as far as labor and business. Do we need unions? Are we better off without unions? And the answer is we do need unions, but to a degree. And I'm going to tell you why. Due to the ungodliness of people, labor needs protection, because without labor having protection, the greed of business and businessmen will basically force wages down so low and such bad working conditions that you can cause this country to collapse. But by the same token, labor can't be too powerful, because due to the sinful nature of people again. If labor is too powerful, though people will make good money, they won't produce much. And this will also cause an economic collapse. So there's a balance. And what most people don't like to realize, or fail to realize, is that business needs labor and labor needs business. They have to coexist together. You know, most businesses need people with money that are making good money, especially if you're consumer based, to have a business. I mean, if people don't have any money and you own stores or you own anything that deals with consumers, you're going to be out of business. You're going to be out of business. But by the same token, if people don't produce on a job, well, then a company has nothing to sell, and the economy can go, and the society could fall that way. See, because it always leads back to God, because, like I say, God teaches good behavior. So in a godly society, truly godly society, you wouldn't need unions to begin with, because business and labor would compromise like they should do, and the nation would flourish on their own without all these, battles and struggles. Because, labor battles cost business and they cost the workers. Nobody really wins. But it's the sinfulness of each party that makes this battle necessary. Sometimes business is right. Sometimes workers are right. In this economy, due to the weakening of unions and the corrupt behavior of union men, where they don't really stick together, business has grown so powerful, and greed in this country has grown so powerful that it's causing the collapse of the middle class. And the middle class is dissolving, because unions had a lot to do with bringing a middle class to this country to begin with. That, along with cheap labor overseas, which, people, they complain they don't have a job, but then they love their stuff made overseas because it's cheap. And we can go into the credit system, hyperinflating the cost of everything in society. And that's another reason for the economic collapse. All these things play a role in it. But business and labor has to learn to compromise, because they both need each other. They're both dependent on each other. Business has to be willing to pay a fair wage, a good middle class wage. And labor has to be willing to do a fair day's work for that wage, and be dependable and do the right thing, But in a sinful society, neither side is willing to sit down at the table of reason, so there's always war to really everybody's peril. So I hope this is another reason to see that turning to God is the way, because if people can't compromise, there's always going to be power struggle and war. And due to the ungodliness of people, labor has to protect itself from business oftentimes. But at the same time, if labor becomes too powerful, it will destroy business to its own peril. And a lot of times it's a case by case basis, sometimes you see bosses, their companies need to be unionized because of the way they act. And there's times when the unions are wrong, and they have to step it back a notch. But the irrationality of our society makes some people just want to do in unions. And sometimes it's small businessmen that want to do in unions, when the unions making the middle class is really the only reason they have them small and medium-sized businesses to begin with. So this is something that has to be looked at with ration and reason. And this is why God is the way. Because if not, America will just head down the road to more financial difficulty and more problems. So God bless and have a good day. I hope you turn to God and realize the reason people need to turn to God is to raise their standard of behavior. With knowledge of God, you learn to raise your standard of behavior. This isn't this hocus pocus nonsense you see on TV and all. I don't teach that kind of religion. That's nonsense. Turning to God is about raising your standard of behavior to being more humane and reasonable and rational, and understanding what makes a good world, a good society, and that's how you make it to heaven. Because you're more of a benefit to the world rather than a burden on the world. So God bless and have a good day.